5 misses in a row for Sergio Perez. Nyck Devries' exit rumors are boiling, and the Mika Hakkinen prophecy may be coming true. This is Into the Chicane, a Formula One podcast, and before we get started, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the show with your friends. We are on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Are we on Threads yet?
Not yet, but maybe soon.
We'll get there. As soon as we want to sell all our information, we'll get on that. This is the British Grand Prix post-race edition. My name is Channing Apodaca.
Brandon Wood.
Welcome to the show. Another good British Grand Prix, I would say.
It's bloody magnificent, mate.
Bloody brilliant. You'd have to be absolutely mad to think that race wasn't absolutely... It was on.
It's spot on, mate.
Oh, man, that race was absolutely on.
It was cracking.
It was cracking, mate. No, it was a good race. A solid weekend overall. Let's start off with qualies, I guess. I don't want to talk about practice.
Yeah, we already kind of talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, we missed just FP3 was the only one that we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
And nothing really happened.
Not too much.
So go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, so as we were kind of suspecting, qualifying started off a little wet.
Mm-hmm.
Shook things up a little bit. Everyone's starting on inters. As the session went on, things started to dry out.
It was an interesting wet weekend because it never got fully wet at any point. It never got fully wet. And I don't remember anybody using intermediates in the race, right?
No,
slicks
not
the
at
whole
all.
way.
Yeah.
A little bit of intermediate time during qualifying, though, as the track started to dry up.
Yeah, and people started to switch to the slicks. But as the track dried, obviously times got faster and faster and faster. Q1 K-Mag, I don't know what it was exactly. I forget what it was exactly. It was just, did he run out of fuel? Or was it? No, it wasn't him that ran out of fuel. It was just an engine problem.
Just shut off, yeah.
Engine just shut off, causing a red flag. And so everyone ended up having to go back to the pits. With that, it kind of set up...
what was there, 3 minutes left on the clock?
3 minutes left on the clock, so not a lot of time left. Basically left everybody with one
opportunity to go out, get their tires hot, and then get basically one flyer in.
Yeah,
because where shit got real interesting. Checo needed to put in a fast lap because he hadn't put in a flyer, or he was still out of the running, or in the relegation zone. So he lined himself up right at the end of the pit lane, wanted to be the first one out, which kind of ultimately fucked him over because everybody else came out behind him. He basically gets the track reheated himself, and he went P1, right? So it looked like he was going to be clear.
Yeah, I think that was just because he was one of the first to cross the line.
Right, one of the first, at least on the slicks.
Yeah.
And then he goes P1, looked like he was about to, finally, well, I mean, this was only Q1, so it looked like he was at least going to get himself into Q2. And then 15 cars go by. 15 cars go by. Yeah. Every single one faster than him. And the big controversy is, so the saving grace for him in this qualifying session where he gets relegated, he doesn't make it into Q2, the saving grace is that he was the first car out. He waited in the queue for 8 minutes or something just to be the first one out there. The only redeeming factor is that he was the very first one to set a fast time on essentially a cold track, right? In the eyes of, let's say, Helmut Marko and Christian Horner.
On cold tires,
basically. And so you can go, all right, well, we'll give him that. He didn't really get the best track conditions to put in a good lap. But the car right behind him was Alex Albon.
Yeah.
In a fucking Williams, which, to their credit, the Williams has been flying. The Red Bull, however, should be able to compete with should be able to dominate every single car on the grid, aside from another Red Bull driven by Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
So, doesn't look good for Checo. Alex, though, I think he bested him by almost a whole second.
Half a second?
Yeah. Okay. Still, I mean, he should be within 0.3 seconds of Max Verstappen. That's what he's there to do.
Mm-hmm.
But he's getting beat by Alex Albon in the Williams. He gets relegated. Doesn't make it to Q2. Who does make it to Q2? Both McLaren's.
Hey, they made it through to more than just Q2.
Mm-hmm.
They made it to Q3.
Both McLaren's make it to Q3, and for a split second, about 15 seconds, Lando Norris was on provisional pole. Did you hear the crowd go fucking ape shit?
Bananas.
It was dope because normally it's a big Lewis crowd, and I don't think Lewis did make it into. Oh, I guess they both made it into Q3, but still, it was kind of obvious that he wasn't gonna be, anywhere near pole.
Yeah.
Both Ferraris faster than him, Max Verstappen obviously faster than him, but the overwhelming applause for Great Britain turning out for Lando Norris, I loved it. Yeah. I loved seeing that support.
Yeah, had it have been Lewis or even George, I think they might have went.
I'm sure they would have, but it was just nice to see them. Knowing that Lewis wasn't going to be there, it wasn't nice to know that they were just going to blindly follow Lewis just to follow Lewis when they can go, oh, look, we got another one of our own. That's right. We got this little hot to trot fucking coconut oil tan beautiful boy in Lando Norris who can do this shit too. And it was just nice to see what he was able to do.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around long enough and people know who he is.
Exactly.
He's had some good finishes, so it was rightfully deserved.
He gets on provisional pole, and then a split second later, Max Verstappen came through with he had one yellow sector, one green sector, and then put in a purple in the final third sector. But it looked like, oh my God, like Lando was going to take pole, and I was losing my shit. I was watching live at 7 a.m. here by myself and literally screaming.
Yeah.
And then followed up by teammate Oscar Piastri, who had a brilliant qualifying. Almost a second slower, was it? No. A tenth of a second slower than Lando in Q3. But brilliant qualifying by him, too. They look phenomenal all weekend.
Yeah. Ferraris qualified right behind them, then the Mercedes, and then
Alex Albon.
Aston's not looking great.
It looks like their Cinderella season's coming a little unwound.
Yeah, Fernando only qualifies in 9th.
Yeah, they've both been really quiet, aside from Lance Stroll making contact with Pierre Gasly at some point in the race. But yeah, they little crack in their armor there.
Yeah, in the race, we saw Lando right off the jump.
Right off the fucking jump. He got a faster launch than Max too by 1/100th of a second. It was like a 0.022 to a 0.033 or something.
Yeah, similar to Austria. Not the greatest start from Max. Lando and both Oscar got a great jump.
From third, I thought Oscar was going to take Max. I think had he just held on,
he thought about it.
He gave it a nice long think too.
Yeah.
He took that first corner and really pushed Max to the outside. And I think had he not backed out or let off a little bit and really just owned the corner, he would have had Max, and it would have been a different race.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, you got to realize, or he needs to remember that that's Max.
Mm-hmm.
Max is not going to let off, and so
exactly,
you're in that position. You don't want to happen what happened to Lando a few weeks ago, where
he became dead stop.
Yeah,
on the apex.
Yeah, where sticks out a little bit too hard, ends up ruining his whole race. So you're starting from that high up for the first time. You kind of want to savor it as much as you can.
I wonder if Max would back off, because if Max wants to have this perfect season, this Red Bull basically shutout. I mean, he's not going to shut it out. He's already not won 2 races this year. But if he wants to have a Red Bull shutout, is he willing to maybe take some body damage, potentially DNF, in a situation like that where Checo's all the way at the back of the pack, or basically the back of the pack in 15th? Is he willing to risk a corner like that and risk his race, or play it safe and let Oscar just go around him and attack from behind?
I don't know. I feel like
the Max of 2 years ago
exactly
would go into the corner with his elbows out and almost risk his life.
Exactly. I was going to say, I feel like this year maybe not so much. He's a little bit more matured.
Max with something to win this year. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he doesn't care enough about that at this point. He already knows that they have such a big points lead that he's not going to do something to risk his points that much. But yeah, Lando manages to hold off Max for about 5 laps.
Beautiful. Some good defense too.
Yeah, it was great.
He went defensive a little bit, but as soon as that DRS kicked in, that's where the Red Bull's just going to take over him.
Yeah. Not much action happened over the next, say, 15, 20 laps or so. We started to see some pit strategy come into play. George Russell was able to stay out 28 laps on his soft tires.
Wow.
Kind of surprised everybody. Everybody really expecting him or any of the cars to be able to go that far on the softs.
It was a pretty cold track all weekend, so I have to imagine that, they would last a little bit longer, but that's an impressive stint.
Yeah, but both the Ferraris pitting early for hards. Unfortunately, especially for Carlos, just a few laps later, lap 33, we see a K-Mag again, this time up in flames and smoke.
Yeah, that was the second time he DNF'd.
Yeah.
In the entire
And I thought this was pretty interesting too, is like both of these events are what like set up the most exciting moments of the whole weekend, right? It was the K-Mag DNF.
Yeah.
Or K-Mag's car imploding.
No matter where Haas is at, whether they're, having a great qualifying or DNFing, they're giving us something every weekend of the season so far.
And the fact that it happened when it did, it was where it's just past where, for some of the teams' tire strategy, just past that pit window. So all the drivers that went early all end up missing out.
Max and Lando pitted during safety car, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at this point, right before, because Hamilton had stayed out on his medium tires. By the time the safety car happens, he's in 3rd place.
Because they pitted Oscar as well, right?
Oscar pitted early. He was his tires were falling off a little bit, so he had to go early. They're worried about the undercut from Russell. So at this point, when safety car comes out, Hamilton's got an opportunity to go in and get a fresh, or they weren't fresh, but there was a set of used soft tires. So setting him up to come out right behind Lando with a new set of hards. Did you see this when Russell talking to his team over the radio during the safety car, getting the update, and he was asking where Lewis was?
George?
Yeah.
No.
Here, let me play this. It's really good.
Such an incredible part of the team.
Car ahead is Piastri. Ahead of him is Lewis. Lewis boxed. Yeah, he had stayed out, but he did just box. All right.
Well, it happens. Russell has had a couple of races like that.
So Russell not happy that he just got jumped by Hamilton.
Is that his only concern?
Apparently, I don't know. He was he was bummed that he missed out. Like he ran a different strategy. He started on a set of soft tires, ran them long and pitted when he needed to, and then just so happened that it was at the wrong time for the safety car. So
is that all he cares about is beating Lewis?
I don't know. Apparently, but I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. How many laps do you know that were they under safety car for? It was like 3 to 5, right?
I think it was a total 6 because lap 39 they restarted.
And so there was 13 laps left. I couldn't believe. So first off, Oscar loses a place to Lewis. He loses that place in the pit. You have to think that had he not lost that, Oscar's on the podium for sure. I think that's a done deal. That's locked in. Oscar gets his first F1 podium had he not lost that position to Lewis in the pits. But why? I can't wrap my head around this. Why did McLaren choose to go onto hards during what was basically a free pit stop?
From what I heard, it was a factor of when the safety car happened, they decided they had an option of a new set of hards or to go for a used set of softs.
They had no mediums?
Well, they started on mediums, so they had to go to a different compound.
Oh, I didn't know they started on mediums.
And the time that they had between when they were making that call and when Lando was going to come into the pits, they weren't going to have enough time to warm the soft tires up with the blankets.
In the tire blankets?
Yeah, so they were kind of stuck having to go to the
Stuck with a set of warm, hard tires versus a set of cold, soft tires. Interesting.
So
Lewis had also gone onto a set of used softs. You have to. I can't help but wonder: does Oscar Piastri pass Lewis if he goes onto that set of softs?
I mean, I heard people saying, if the race was maybe 5 to 10 laps longer, Oscar could have caught him. But
yeah, I mean, you have to think too. If they throw Lando on softs, he might have a better shot at catching Max and actually making a little bit of a dogfight. Probably not, right? But Max on that brand new set of softs versus Lando on that set of hards, he gained like a second and a half, almost 2 seconds on the very first lap because Lando's now defending against Lewis. Oscar's chasing Lewis. Max just sort of runs away with it from there. But I thought that was an interesting call. That's a good explanation for it. It makes sense.
Yeah, but that restart, lap 39, Lando on those hard tires, Lewis with the softs right behind him. You can hear in Lando's voice, he was real worried, real nervous.
Oh, yeah.
The restart, he said, "Oh, this is great. This is awesome."
Yeah.
And sure enough, flag goes green. Lando throws those elbows out.
Dude,
so far.
He defended like a mother, dude, for the second time in this race. And you don't normally see... we don't often see Lando defending like that, but it just shows that he does have it in him. Lando's got that dog in him. I don't care if he's, some nerdy gamer, pretty boy a little bit, but he's got some fight to him. I love that dude.
Yeah, when he was on the outside, Lewis had gotten on the inside and just stayed ahead of him and
stuck it out.
Yeah, it was so amazing to see. Lasted for a couple laps of pressure from Hamilton. Lando broke him and just held it on and managed to hold it out for the rest of the race.
Yeah, great. That's his first podium of the year, right?
First podium of the year.
First podium for McLaren this year as well.
Just this alone jumped McLaren a couple places up the constructors' standings.
Yeah, that mixed with the Alpine double DNF because Ocon DNF'd, correct?
Yeah, he went out at lap 10.
Yeah, he went out early, and that was just they boxed him. He kind of just putted his way to the pit lane. They boxed him. I don't know what happened there. And then Pierre Gasly got some body damage from a little tussle with Lance Stroll, which I also didn't really catch.
Yeah, Gasly was battling with all kinds of people back there around that 11 to 12 spot, really trying to hold on, trying to get that point. Gasly had a couple run-ins with Carlos, and then battle Stroll. Lap 44, we saw Carlos struggling on his hards, ends up going a little bit offline, ruins his temperature in just the tires, and ends up falling back 3 places on that one lap. He gets passed by Gasly. Was it Stroll or was Gasly, Leclerc, and Stroll?
Wow,
I think maybe
another weekend to forget for Ferrari.
Man, just
like nowhere.
Yeah, I think they really missed out having to pit so early, but with their tire degradation problems, I don't know if they really had that much of a choice to be able to hold out that long.
What did they start on?
Both started on mediums, I think.
So they should have had about, a 10 to 15 lap window before they threw on the hards, but safety cars and all that shit mixed in just doesn't play into their strategy. Happens.
So even though he started back P15, we saw Checo managed to work himself back up to P6.
Nice little respectable P6.
You feel like that's an adequate recovery for the qualifying situation?
I mean, it's a great recovery. It's a 9-place. No, I guess 10, technically, because he would have started P16. you can't be mad at it. But you also you can't be happy with it. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, you fucked up, but you've made amends type of a thing. If you're the team, you'd want to see him in P2, if not P4, given, how well the McLaren's looked. I think P4 would have been the aim, but it kind of took him a second. I think he gained 1 spot lap 1, and then over the next 10 or 15 laps, like 2 or 3, I think his stint helped him out a little bit too. He went a little bit longer than some other cars, but safety car helps him, so he's able to jump the line.
Yeah.
There, gain some spots, but it is what it is. It's good, not great.
And I just don't think that their car had quite the same advantage as they've had at past few races. Yeah. I think that was kind of obvious just looking at Max's pace, even though he was like significantly quicker throughout the race, but
not the 20-second advantage that we've seen them have
not
before.
The same gap as what we've had. But all that, all that being said, pretty good finish for Checo. So like we're talking about Oscar finishing just outside of a podium finish, lost out a little bit under that safety car. Can we say that looking good for Oscar being Rookie of the Year this year?
Yeah. Who else is really even in contention? Nyck Devries, obviously not. Logan Sargent doesn't have a single point also. I mean, basically the way you put it, the other 2 rookies don't have points. They're the only 2 drivers without points this season, so it's an obvious Rookie of the Year for Oscar Piastri. And not only that, but like I said earlier, the Mika Hakkinen prediction is going to come true. If everything stays this way, they're going to look phenomenal. So Rookie of the Year, he's going to be one of the top 5 drivers potentially of this year. Mm-hmm. He's going to have a shot at that top 5 because you have to look at the Aston Martins are falling off. I don't think George Russell's going to be in there. The Ferraris are shaky. That means him, Checo, or Max, Checo. I think Lando's going to find his way up there. Oscar has a shot at being in there, and then Lewis or Fernando can round out that top 5. If everything stays the way this looks now.
Yeah. It's only been 2 races, but it's starting to look like
it's trending that
back,
way.
Right?
Yeah.
So if they can keep this up.
What does Mika Hakkinen know that we don't?
He's seen the some of the advanced numbers and diagrams that
probably
working out.
I'm down with it, man. I love the McLaren comeback. I love who was it? Lewis was quoted saying something about how fast the McLaren is, and then playing into the British media being favoring Lando for the week, and him saying Lando's gonna be a world champion someday. If they can keep up this pace. He had some quote.
He could.
Yeah,
he could. We did mention Sargent. Williams looked very promising this weekend. Alex, pretty great drive altogether.
I thought for a second that they were gonna get 2 Q3s. It was close.
Yeah, but P11 finish for Logan, his
Not
best
bad.
finish of the year.
Not bad.
Williams just missing out, double points.
Yeah. And Logan just missing out on his first points in F1.
Yeah,
pretty good. Before we get to the rest, before we start doing wrapping the post race, let's talk about Checo.
Okay.
Well, let's say so the podium ended up being Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton with Oscar Piastri, and then was it George? No, Oscar Piastri, then George, then Alex, then the 2 Ferraris, and
yes, Checo.
Oh, and
P6.
Checo in 6. That's right. That's who I was forgetting. So there's your top 10. But the Checo rumors, the AlphaTauri rumors. Is there a better option for Checo next year? Not for Checo. Is there a better option than Checo?
For next year?
Yeah. Looking at Alex Albon and some of the drivers whose contracts may be up or be bought out. Because I with everything that's happening with the AlphaTauri seat being switched up, is there an option where Checo does not come back? And we've talked about it before this season. but I think things are just getting super serious. So we'll jump ahead a little bit to big fat fucking rumor that Daniel Ricciardo is going to replace Nyck Devries after the summer break.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely heartbreaking for Nyck Devries. I think that just sucks for a dude that I think is pretty well liked. You and I like him, but to just never get a full shake. I don't even want to say a fair shake because he's driven his fair amount. He's had a really bad showing.
Yeah.
Teammate hasn't done great also. For whatever reason, he looks worse. He's taken the car off track. He's never gotten comfortable for a split second in that car. He's looked dog shit. Never gets a full shake. And I think that the Daniel Ricciardo to AlphaTauri, if this happens, and I feel like it's one of those things where when a rumor gets to a certain point, it's basically set in stone. It's now, when you have The Athletic talking about Daniel Ricciardo replacing Nyck Devries, it's already, like, the wheels are already in motion. I feel like it's more likely to happen than not at this point. But if Daniel Ricciardo is replacing Nyck Devries at the second half of this season, that's not so that AlphaTauri is in better contention. It's a test drive for Daniel Ricciardo to see what sort of form he's in.
Yeah.
So if next year an option comes up, could it be Daniel Ricciardo, Alex Albon, or Checo? What do you think is the logical outcome there?
I feel like...
And not what you want, but
Not
what do
what I
you
want.
think is going to happen?
If Ricciardo does well these summer tests and he gets into that AlphaTauri seat and he finishes out the season, I feel like if he does it well, if he does it in a way that impresses a few people in the Red Bull camp, I think sure it's pretty likely that he'll be in Checo's seat next year. Because the way they see it, if he's at least performing on par with what Checo's doing now, it's still a positive to have Daniel Ricciardo in that seat instead of Checo. Because
if Daniel Ricciardo can outqualify and outrace Yuki, that's a tombstone.
Yeah, and if that does happen, I'm going to be rooting for Yuki even harder than I already do, because I want him to make Daniel look really bad. But
okay,
but no shade against Daniel. I just I would rather see them investing
in youth,
in a younger driver, someone that hasn't really been in F1 before, and priming them in that AlphaTauri seat in order to find the best candidate.
But again, I don't think that it's for the sake of the AlphaTauri. It's not for the sake of development. It's for Red Bull. It's an audition. It's to lock up, the Constructors' Championship, which they really don't even need to do because Max is leading it alone.
Yeah,
but they want somebody there. Because they know what their car is capable of, they want their second driver to be second place. They want a 1-2 on the season.
Yeah,
they didn't get it last year.
Yeah, they don't need somebody to be in there contending for a championship with Max. They just
but
need
they
somebody.
want the 1-2, and I think that's why they're going to go with a seasoned veteran over somebody like Yuki, who at this point you could say he is, he's a veteran. This is his junior year in F1, right? This is his third year.
Yeah, but he still has. I mean, he's been a lot better this year, but he's had consistency issues, right? So.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a constant theme with Yuki too. I don't think he's going to shake that anytime soon. Maybe in a few years he'll be a little bit more consistent if he's still around, but he's not that guy right now. I still keep circling back though to whether or not the team and the driver would take it if Alex Albon was offered his seat back, which would be very awkward because he is the man who lost out on that seat to Checo. So if they were to just reshuffle those deck chairs, but he looks in top form. If he's driving the way he is right now, what can he do in a Red Bull?
I don't know. I mean, he might be able to have some great drives, but it may not be as impressive as what he's able to do just being in a Williams. We maybe, especially when
imagine too, the Williams is set up more to his liking, and the Red Bull is always going to be set up to Max's liking.
Yeah, and
so
then
he could find himself in the exact same situation that he was in 2 years ago.
Yeah, and he's always going to be constantly compared to Max. So if you're Alex, unless they're offering you a buttload of money, just kind of stay where you are.
That might be the right way to go. I don't know if Alex even wants to go back, but just as an Alex Albon fan, I wouldn't mind seeing it happen just for his own success. A lot of P2s, some podiums, potential race wins. It is also fun to see him really command shit in that Williams because he's pushing it to the limit.
Yeah, I mean,
but
and with the way things are going, in a couple seasons, maybe Williams is up there battling with the Red Bulls. We don't really know what's going to happen.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
See Red Bull get pushed by McLaren and Williams. Be nice. We'll see, though. This Daniel Ricciardo thing is going to shake shit up. No doubt. No doubt.
I'm looking forward to it. So I don't know if you saw after the, I guess this was before the race on the grid walk.
Martin Brundle, love it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, I'm sure it would have been extremely interesting.
So he's such a gem.
It's so good.
The way he's just become such a sarcastic asshole on the grid when people like, security trying to brush him off when certain, dumbass celebrities. Who is that chick?
Cara Delevigne.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
She's an actress?
Yeah. She's pretty big actress. But just very controversial because, apparently people that get are like the thing is if you're on the grid,
you have to do the interviews.
Yeah. It's part of the perks. So a lot of people upset with her and this has happened before in the past, like where Martin or some interview tries to talk to somebody and they brush them off, and it's like, well, if you're there, you should play along and at least
that's such a fucking privilege to be invited down there.
Yeah,
to be next to an F1 car like that, and you're in their world, and to blow them off, like you're there for camera fodder. You're eye candy. Just say what a lovely time. It's so nice to be invited down here.
Yeah.
What's your name? I'm Martin. I'm Kara. Bye.
Yeah, I'm having a lovely time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's what an amazing event.
Yeah. And and some people coming to her defense saying, "Oh, well, she was told by the Alfa Romeo people, PR people, that if she didn't want to answer, she didn't have to."
Is that whose garage she was in?
Yeah, and so she was like a guest of them. So like she didn't really feel, she didn't know that it would be rude or whatever. But at the same time, it's like,
if Alfa Romeo is the best invite you got on the weekend, you're not in a place to be snob. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's here's the thing. It's like, it's kind of silly. There's a rule that people have to answer a question or have to be interviewed or whatever. But at the same time, it's like you could easily just say something nice. And
it's so funny the way that Martin Brundle handles that shit, though. He's so quick with his snarky responses. Like, I think it was him the year that Christina Aguilera was at one of the races, and she was taking a video, and he goes, "Is Christina Aguilera feigning an interest in F1?" Brilliant, love it.
Yeah. I mean,
other than Martin Brundle versus celebrity beef, we got a little bit more beef.
So in the post-race interviews, there was this.
Soft hubiese salido décimo y hubiese tenido que adelantar a esos coches con una rueda igual. Pobrecito.
What happened there?
He says, like, "Don't push me off."
Don't squeeze me like that.
Or don't squeeze me like that, yeah.
Go back. Did he think that was Charles? He said, "Don't squeeze me like that, Charles."
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe he just got the names mixed up.
I mean, Carlos is, it's like the same thing, right?
True.
Carlos is Charles, but yeah. So
what was the incident? Do you know? I don't even.
That's what I don't even remember exactly the incident between them. If that was like Stroll, I can understand him being a little ticked and like giving him the little shove. Yeah. But
maybe he just came in. When you're like a hothead at a party.
Yeah.
Wants to just fight somebody and they just start like causing shit with everyone around.
The first red
the first
suited driver they saw.
He's just like, don't Don't you do that to me. He just wanted, like, he looked like he just wanted to pick a fight right there.
Yeah. I mean, rough go for Pierre. He was looking good. Honestly, that's really the whole Alpine situation really screwed me this weekend in fantasy.
Do you remember when we were talking about the upcoming weekend and we both thought that Alpine was going to have a sneaky good weekend?
Yeah, that's what made me want to go and put them on my freaking fantasy team.
Boy, were we wrong.
Yeah, I'm pulling that up right now. You really made out real lucky. After qualifying, I was looking pretty good. I was pretty stoked.
Yeah, I was feeling the heat after qual. I thought you were going to take over.
I was really primed. I was really primed to take over. Let me go to this weekend. Oh my God!
Susie Wolf's Stan account wins the weekend by 19 points ahead of me.
Smoked everybody.
Yeah, she had a great one. Me and Strolling with my homies tied for second. Let's go full throttle. Fourth on the weekend. You come in fifth. You dropped one place. J Money sixth, but he moves up a place. Church of Checos.
Yeah.
Seventh, and then
so
KJ.
This week I played.
I saw you played your 3X. Why'd you do that?
I felt like it was a good, solid weekend to play it on Max. I felt like he was going to have a good showing.
Had you not done that, I would have cleared you by over 100 points.
Yeah,
I would be in the lead for first.
So
right
terrible.
Now. I mean, that was your one saving grace because, yeah, let's look at it. You lose points on Pierre. You get 0 from Nico. Carlos doesn't have a good showing, and that's your 2X. So really, he only got 4 points. Fernando doesn't have a great weekend, and then you lose 16 points on Alpine.
Yeah, it was really rough. Yeah, Hulk didn't do anything either. I mean, as to be expected.
I kind of I stayed pat a little bit.
And that's why I tried to do something different, right? Because I knew I needed to gain some points on you, so I had to have some kind of a different setup. The only thing is that it just failed. So,
yeah, I mean, the Aston Martins didn't really do me any good, but I kind of just went with the idea of, like, stick with what got you here.
Yeah.
For this weekend, I'm thinking about shaking things up for Hungary a little bit. But yeah, as it stands right now, I took a massive leap on you. 53-point lead. I guess it would have been closer to 80 had you not played your 3X.
Yeah.
So as it stands right now, it's me, Incident in first, Porpoise Power Trains in second, Susie Wolf Stand Account in third, Strolling with my homies the fourth spot, J Money in fifth, Church of Checos, Full Throttle, and KJ. No movement in the actual season standings there. Nobody moves up, nobody moves down. Close, though.
Yeah.
Big swing and a miss from you.
So with our bold predictions, for you,
no contact on lap one.
That I'm trying to remember that Hulk and Perez contact that happened.
Did they touch?
They did. Nico lost a front wing.
That was on the first lap?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to remember.
No.
I think it was early on, but it wasn't
early on. It wasn't on the first lap. I was looking out for it. It was not on the first lap because Nico got his front end plate taken off.
So 0 points for you. I had Carlos podium. No, I had both Mercedes outside of top 5. Lewis came up super fat, so that took that away. Both Williams top 10.
A donut.
We both missed out on that. So everything's staying the same.
2 big donuts.
2 big donuts.
Yeah, the Williams one was upsetting. That was close. Because I had them, getting the Q3 and then both double points.
So
I needed that.
For Race of the Year standings, how do you feel this one matches up against? I feel like
it was good. I'm thinking 5.
I don't know. I feel like it was going to be higher up than that. Just because seeing Lando and
the Lando thing is a saving grace.
Him battling with Lewis, that was pretty great.
But I think there was better battles in Austria, Miami, and Jeddah. The Lando thing was good, but I think we're going to get more of that. It's not going to be like a one-off that's going to push this. It was a good British Grand Prix. It wasn't anywhere close to last year's. It could have been better. I'm good with 5.
Okay.
I don't think it was as exciting as Jeddah.
Okay. All right. I'll agree with that.
And then, maybe when we have Jonathan or Cole back,
We can relitigate this.
We can relitigate it and see where they stand on it.
Okay. So Australia still holds out number 1. Austria coming in number 2. Miami 3. Jeddah 4. Here, Great Britain number 5. Canada 6. Bahrain 7. Azerbaijan 8. Spain 9. Italy, which was canceled, comes in at 10 above Monaco, which was boring as hell.
As always.
Yeah. Anything
And
else
will
for this
do
week?
It. So we have one more race before we hit the mid-season break, right?
Yeah. What is next? We got Hungary. Okay. But we got it's
We have a 1 week off.
1 week off. Okay. So we'll do some predictions next week.
Yeah, we'll have some. We'll do a midweek pod next week. Do our bold predictions, and hopefully, maybe we'll get a little bit of news there.
Ooh, that'd be great.
That will be nice. This has been Into the Chicane, the post-British Grand Prix edition. We'll see you guys next week
Cheers.
for a pre-Hungary. Peace.